So, I'm going to introduce the panel of guests we have here today that are really going to take you through the whys and the hows of this product. First of all, Mark Verstegen, to my left here. Mark has had a 15-year partnership with adidas, and as we develop these products for these athletes, Mark is the preeminent source for us to go. He has a number of facilities around the country. His main facility in Arizona, but he's where we go to get our advice and get our testing. Mark has trained 5 of the last #1 draft picks in the NFL, 14 first-round draft picks just this past year, and every year he has a crop of 10-plus athletes. Athletes line up to get into Mark Verstegen's facility. He's regarded as one of the preeminent trainers in the country. He's trained 14 MLB All-Stars, trained 3 of the last 16 FIFA World Cup teams, and he was also just named the strength and conditioning coach for the U.S. men's soccer team. So we're very excited and proud of our relationship with Mark, and he will take you through a lot of the presentation today. Also, we have Heather O'Reilly. Heather's been with adidas for a number of years. She's a member of the women's U.S. soccer teams, just recently in the finals. So we're all proud of our team there. She's played in the last 2 World Cups, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, so not a lot of those running around. And she holds the record for the most consecutive games played for the women's team at 63, and she's regarded as one of the fittest and fastest women's soccer players in the world. So a fantastic athlete, so we're happy to have her. And we also have one of the newest members of New York's athlete community in Jarrell Jernigan. And Jarrell was a 3rd-round draft pick by the New York Giants, so he just played last night. He's not too banged up. And he's a 4-year starter from Troy University, and he played over 4 different positions. So he is an amazing athlete, not just a one-dimensional football player. He's played them all, and he's pretty fast too. He's run around the 4.3 range, which is rare speed. Not many of those people have that speed. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mark Verstegen, who's going to take you through some of the benefits of this product.
Guys, thank you guys for coming. I know on a beautiful day like this, New York doesn't happen all the time, and for you to sit indoors, deeply appreciate it, and we'll let you get out and move your feet as soon as you can. First of all, I represent an entire organization, Athletes Performance and Core Performance. And at the end of the day, with the utmost respect and the utmost humility, in sport we support over 3,000 professional athletes globally. Unbelievable responsibility. And we also have the responsibility to support some of the finest women and men, the special operations community that are doing a lot of heavy work out there right now to protect our freedoms, and also a great responsibility. And I say that we at Athletes Performance cannot step outside the box to do something that doesn't have the highest level of efficacy and science, and we don't jump on fads. We have an unbelievable responsibility to serve the needs of our athletes, our operators, and ultimately the corporations that we support. Hands down, or in this case, like feet down, right? So what you started to see is this whole progression of things, and you know what? The human body is probably the coolest engineered thing. I think designers would even say the same thing, like you can't meet the design. So when we start to look at it, over 200, right, muscles in your body, when you start to look at that, bones, 20% of them, 25% of them occur below the knee. And how often do we ask people in this space what they've ever done to help prepare their feet, their lower leg for this? Zip zilch. And then you kind of get to this whole concept of, hey, let's start running barefoot. Okay, which is great, but I also wouldn't take someone who has never run a marathon before or never run at all before and say, tomorrow you're going to start running a marathon. You don't run to get fit. You have to get fit, ultimately, to run. Just like you approach everything else. So what we need to do is not just look at this equipment continuum. We have shoes that have big, heavy heels that are called Olympic lifting shoes. They're cool, they're iconic, they're stiff, they transfer a lot of force. We have performance trainers with the straps and the whole heels, and you're out on the turf cutting. You can even play basketball, you can do all that stuff. But you also then need to have something that lets your foot actually function the way it was designed, And right now, when you take world-class athletes and you look at how they squeeze their feet into cleats, plates, or how we squeeze them into dress shoes, heels, and then all of a sudden our feet start to look like that. So before we kind of jump into what we're going to use it for, first understand your foot. Your foot was engineered with all those bones and joints and all the muscles that wrap in that, and it's this beautiful piece of architecture. One of the main things you should see is this arch, and that arch that starts to come up in your foot, think about it in two different ways. The first of all, if I go through the park and I see these beautiful bridges, you see the bridges have all these stones on both sides that create the arch. What's always at the top? That keystone. If I take that keystone and I drive it and push it up, the rest of the bridge is going to fall down. Your arch is the exact same way. You create an arch, but in traditional footwear, if I push that arch, that keystone up on your arch, we say it's arch support, it actually decreases the integrity of your foot. Second way, if you ever look at a car, it has those kind of leaf springs in them. Well, what they do is they absorb shock and then they let the wheel go back down. Your arch should be the same way. It should store and release energy. Store and release energy. That's what our foot's meant to do, to store it and to release it. And when that starts to happen, it turns on this whole lower chain, and all of a sudden I get better balance and stability, and all these muscles in and about my lower leg become functional. So here's how we kind of look at it with your foot. You need some phalangeal fitness, right? And your before picture would be you taking your foot, putting a little chalk on it, and then stepping on a black piece of contact paper and put that as your before picture. You're probably going to see someone that has some scrunched up toes, and your little toe, your big toe. Check them out tonight, right? And when you start to see that, you're also going to probably see that you're pretty flat in your arch. And what you should see is this. Your after picture should look like this. Your toe spread should be the widest part of your foot. Next, it should be from that widest part of your foot. You should then have this come through. If I drew a line through my big toe, a line through my big toe should go right down the center of my heel. Right now, with probably the majority of us in the room, that big toe sits in here and the line would go outside your heel. The big toe is where all the money's at. If you watch people walk with their toes out, they never roll over the big toe. They'll have foot function issues. They'll have hip flexor problems and low back problems. It just happens. Until we clean up the feet and all that, you're not going to take care of it. The second thing you should notice is there should be an arch right behind the ball of your foot, and that starts to create that arch. And then here's the last part. As we lift the shoes, we call this about drop. Where your forefoot is down lower, imagine a big set of high heels, right? Sassy, sexy, especially when I would, mind you, right? So when you start to have that, though, think about how it shortens all the muscles. But now as I take that and I drop here and then ultimately I get to flat, it's like doing a big stretch right on my ankle. I'm lifted here, there's no stretch. If I'm down there, there's a lot of stretch. So we need to think about that. We don't want you just to say, hey, here's a piece of equipment, use it. We need to also empower you with the intelligence of how to progress to it to start to ultimately change the whole way your body works. And we'll go through some of that a little bit later. But right now, we have the good fortune to have the pros here to do that. And the first test in athleticism is putting the shoe on. Rob talked about how nice it is to slide it on and it's all this three-dimensional cut. But you also have to be able to get your feet to do. When you try putting these on today, if your little toe is all jammed up like that, and you have to like kind of wiggle it and floss it in, that's the first thing saying my feet aren't working real well, and that's really common. If you can get your feet to go and start to slide and have that dexterity that David talked about, now we're starting to get there. If you don't have, right, that function, you really don't have anything. So what we're going to do is first you guys will all end up trying that, but Heather's completed that successfully. So we're going to go through, have Heather come out, I'm just going to do a quick warm-up exercise. So again, we don't have the time and effort to ask athletes to do more, nor do you guys, without this being a profession or having the support staff, have more time. So by doing a few basic things and how we warm up, you're just going to see how your foot naturally fires more. So Heather, what I'd like to do is your inverted hamstring stretch for about 3 reps on each. So what you're going to notice is Heather goes through, she's keeping a straight line from her ear to her ankle, but notice all the balance as you guys sit up front and go right, stop showing off. 3 reps right, 3 reps left. But you'll notice that her foot needs to stay in contact with the ground and how much stuff's happening down at the ankle, and then she's also having to keep that arch. So one of the things, that's okay, the whole goal in that is, yeah, you're going to lose your balance, but our goal is to keep gripping. Other side. I don't want you walking in circles. But we want Heather to try to think about creating that arch, almost like she's trying to grab the ground. And she's doing that. Now that starts to fire all the muscles of the foot. Start to look at all the muscles in the lower leg. See how it starts to activate all these little perineal groups, all the things on the side which normally don't get worked when my foot's in a flipper. Right? And that's how a foot ultimately kind of feels and senses the other. Anthony, may I get a, Kev, can I grab a? Done. So something also as simple as a mini band. I think you know the drill. I appreciate, Kev, that it's color coordinated to the outfit. So the pinstripes.
Baloney?
Let's go baloney. Okay. So what we'll use is you'll see a lot of our athletes using these simple bands. So if you think about foot function, if my arch collapses in, my knee will collapse in, and they call that pronators. So what do? They say, oh, buy a pronation shoe, let me push up and push you in. We need to develop the musculature to make sure I control it. Foot part is one, right? The glutes are another. And so what we're going to have to do is she's going to grab the ground with both feet. She holds a great posture, tummy tight. She's going to dip her left knee in, or right knee in, and then rock it right back out. Now notice nothing's happening down in her foot. That's ideal. Most people want to rock in on the foot and just let it collapse with the knee and then back up. So what she needs to do is hold and grab the ground, rotate in, rotate out, and we'll do those for sets of 15, and she's going to feel it right there. What happens up in the glute controls the femur, and how we control the femur ultimately dictates what happens at the foot. So we need to have the control mechanism here, protect the foot. If you only think about strengthening your feet, but don't strengthen the J-Lo's, then, well, you have to think about it, because it was J-Lo, then it was Beyonce, and now it's back to J-Lo's on top of it. So as you go through that, smoking though on the hips, right? Yeah. This stuff will make you cry. Literally, it will make you cry. The mini band, and we've had it in all different ways. Now we'll progress that, and this is especially important in women. When we talk about women and ACL injuries, especially around soccer, it has to do with strength of the hip and of the foot to help protect the knee. Right? If the foot functions poor, the hip functions poor, then the knee has to do too much. So now we're going to have Heather stand on the outside knee and just lateral bound and stabilize. So getting into a little bit of some plyos. Stabilize, keeping the knees apart. And again, we're doing that slow, but it's forcing the foot to go here. And then in time, you'd see her be her rock itself, where she hits, cuts, and then comes right back off. And rest. Perfect. And that's it. Take the band off. So you can start to see with Heather, who is absolutely world-class in her world-class way, best of best. This stuff's always a workout in the way that in football, soccer for us States people, you guys wear your shoes always super tight.
Yeah, tighter the better. Probably almost a full size too small.
So what do your feet look like when you take them off? Yeah. Yeah. So that's like this. And the rest of the time, we need to get her to spread everything back out, because we've got to keep her on the field, which she's had no problem doing.
Thank you.
Thanks. So after we look at that, then we start to look at different things like plyometrics, right? So Drill, if you want to come down, we talk about how the foot interacts with the ground being as equally as important as how a hand interacts with a ball or with a bat. It doesn't matter how great a hitter I am. If I hold the bat with two fingers, I'll never have success. I can't transfer energy. How your foot interacts with the ground is the same. So Drill, if you can just show some little, we call rapid response. 2 inches up, usually 2 inches out, and just really quick and light. You're going to start to see how the foot, and hear how the foot interacts with the ground. Just quick. And rest. The better we can turn that on and off and on and off, that ground now stores and releases energy in the foot. That's what makes athletes special. And ultimately, as much as we talk about athletes in sport, I can tell you from the leading corporations in the world, to all the rest of us athletes in the game of life, our training looks a lot more like theirs now than it does sitting on these machines, right? So we start to look at now, taking that same thing, and let's go with a little bit of lateral cutting. So let's go with like an icky shuffle and just work your way maybe right down through here. So we're going to cut on the outside. Good. And rest. Perfect. So he makes that stuff look easy, but he's a 4-3 blazer, right? That's rare air. But it's about how that foot interacts with the ground, stores the energy, and then releases it like really quick. That ground reaction force is like a basketball. If I want to think about getting the ball to bounce quicker, do I think about lifting the ball up and dropping it? Or do I think about pushing a little bit harder down the ball to get it to come up quicker? When we have good foot function, the better he pushes in the ground, the quicker it stores, it shoots right back up, even for distance runners. Now as we start to do that, we'll look at a little bit of a strength opportunity as well. So if you look at even something that's going slower for the fast man, and let's do this. Joe, just go in a split squat, hold that dumbbell in your left hand. We'll do 3 split squats. You're going to see little subtle things too, even when we warm up. He's going to hold a straight posture, and this may look like a split squat. When you start to look at keeping that heel right on the ground, just drop that back knee down, and then he's going to stand right back up and do 3 reps, right and 3 left. You're going to start to see that foot function completely different. He's got to hold it. There's more balance. Things happen in the lower. But to me, let's go ahead and switch sides. To me, it's equally as important as this back foot. Normally you think that being passive. Go ahead and squat in. But look at the big range of motion in his big toe. Those are things that if we can continue to keep the big toe, that's the trigger for this guy. Every time his foot leaves the ground, that's like the hammer on a gun contacting the bullet. If the big toe has dysfunction, and think about it from, thank you, even as someone who has turf toe, shuts him down all season, right? So we need to keep that big digit working happy. And now we'll do that same thing, but stabilize, and then just go into jump and then land and stabilize, so more dynamic. But now he's got to start to feel the stresses of the load of the foot, and stabilize. Good. Other leg, go ahead and rip off 2 in a row, and go ahead and use your arms. So now we'll start to condition that lower leg to actually absorb more force each time. Again, a progression. And it depends on, thank you very much, it depends on, and rest. So it depends on, as he starts to go through that, he's got to get that foot progressed. I would ask him to start up here. Now the last part, if I were irresponsible, and I asked either one of these people to train in either just dead bare feet, and I go outside, I'm going to run a risk of, right, lots of different sharp objects. I cut a foot, there's a big deal there. The second part though is if we look at trying to take a shoe without an EVA and train in them, fitness train, performance train, the chance of a 4-foot bruise is extremely high. If I get a 4-foot bruise, I get a heel bruise, that will be around not for a couple weeks, but probably for a couple months, and it will shut athletes and it will shut us down. So we needed to be able to responsibly put in the protection there so we have it as a safe part of our footwear equipment that we want to have for athletes. When we get through all that stuff, we ultimately then will always follow it up, and you guys will have this. We'll show you later. We'll use simple tools like that tennis ball for recovery, because you have to have your foot recover. So we always start first thing and last thing with the tennis ball or cross ball, rolling it in the arches, right, to let that foot warm up and help that fascia. And we'll also start to use different things like a massage stick to work in and get that tissue moving in the lower leg. The recovery part of performance is the limiting factor. If the tissue doesn't recover, if the athletes don't recover, they can't come out and do a great job the next day, which is also why 70% of the injuries that occur in sport are from overuse injuries, and why when you just try to go from wearing your normal shoes, scrunched up, and you put on barefoot type experience and try to just go run to get fit, that is why a lot of foot doctors are very happy right now. They have a nice place in the Hamptons, right? Because you end up hurting yourself, it's almost guaranteed. We need to be responsible in how we progress you and train you to be able to withstand those demands. And probably the most important thing is it's fun. Our athletes have fun. It's a different challenge. It feels good. It's like running around like naked feet, right? But there's still enough protection there where we can get what we need. So, responsible-wise, that's why we're excited about having this piece of equipment. It's not the only thing. It's part of our arsenal to help athletes achieve their results.
Thank you, Mark. So, about a little over a year ago when I started working with this product, I was putting my foot in it and I couldn't spread my toes. And now today, after training it, it used to end up in the top of my foot after I first get them in and started working out in them. The top of my foot felt like different, like a sensation of muscles being used that I hadn't used. And now today, I can get my foot right in the shoe. I can spread my toes out, and I can put the shoe on very easily. I used to have to sit down and line up every toe to go in, and then back it out and get the other one in. So I can tell you that from that perspective, I've learned a lot. We are launching the first barefoot shoe for the gym, and that's really the main takeaway that I'd like everyone to take away. We've given you books which have all of these details on there, but the other key takeaways that I'd like you to take away are we are in the business of looking at footwear as equipment, and I think what you've seen here in this small display, and for those of you who stick around to experience a little bit of training, you can see that the benefits that this product gives you in training your body and your foot and your lower leg are really something that's new and innovative. I think the importance of training in the gym and being able to use that and doing some of the exercises that you see here, we think are very, very important. And I think that clearly the natural movement, being able to use your foot your foot is the first thing that touches the ground. It does everything for you from a balance perspective, and we think it's very important. And then I think more importantly, for those of you who are looking to experience this product, it is available November 1st of this year, so we're very excited about that coming up this fall. And lastly, I'd like to say thank you for coming. So next steps for us are, we have some displays in the back for you to see some of the product. We have bags for each of you with the product and some other things in there. And for those of you who would like to stay and watch or participate, you are welcome to do that. By a show of hands, anybody who is looking forward to working out in a small workout there. There's 1,
Yes.
2, 3.
Yes.
Okay, well, in 10 minutes we're going to start going through a very brief workout. And
no sweat.
No sweat, and you don't have to be fully. You can experience a couple of the exercises, or pick and choose. But it's up to you. So, and we are available for questions over the course of the next 10 minutes. But we will start the workout in 10 minutes, and you can talk to us during that workout also. So again, thank you very much, and we'll head to the back, and you can get your bags at the check-in.